Okay, so, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm trying to, since we're going back to the beginning, who are you communicating with? Is it Sussman that's your primary go-between? Because I understand what your strategy is there. I mean, that all makes sense, and that's where I thought you guys were going. And are you talking with the creditors committee, or are you working this up and then presenting it to Tom and Susan and getting told to stand down and hold off, blah, blah, blah?
Well, again, a combination. I didn't go through all my emails and go through all the time and say, okay, well, this happened on this date and this happened on this date. We presented it. A lot of issues were raised. Can't do it this way. We're very concerned about that. I said, we just got to get over these issues. Present the issues. Let's get over the issues. Present the issues. Let's get over the issues. And then we met.
And that was first week. I mean, that was before I was down here, certainly.
So then when we met with the creditors for the very first time, and we said to them, look, guys, this is a melting ice cube. Damages go up, asset values go down. You got to get control of the situation. And that's when they said, well, sign for the benefit of creditors sounds interesting. Yeah, we think we should be willing to move forward with that. But you got to come back and do a presentation to us and explain to us how it would work and what you're going to do, and you know, boy, 15%. Well, that sounds really high. You know, so come back. So we did, and that's when we worked out the arrangement with the creditors. And then,
from a timeline standpoint, during that period, so we're probably weeks 2 through 2 to 3, we had been told to stand down also on the real property and bill no further hours.
so
Sussman told you that? I guess.
I know Sussman told us that. Whether it was from Sussman and Terry, I don't recall.
okay. Again, I didn't come.
That's fine. That's fine.
I think we're just asking because we want to know who's
Because
really
you're telling us
representing us.
about stuff that we don't know anything about.
Right.
I mean, we're
Okay, well, let me just keep going through the timeline. So then we meet with the creditors, and they say, okay, sign for benefit creditors, that sounds like a good idea. So we say, great. So we proposed a structure and an idea and everything, and then we had a meeting with Bob Van den Bosch and David Foraker and a group of people, okay? But only 2 of your attorneys, okay? And David said, yeah, signing for the benefit creditors sounds pretty interesting. Bob said, ooh, I'm a little bit concerned about that. Bigger group of creditors potentially, because and signing for the benefit creditors is all your creditors. And I don't know if that's a good idea or not. So okay, understand, still need to move forward on this, guys. So then they said, okay, what do you want? Bob says, well, I think that we should assign, just for the benefit of the exchangers, is the primary group. Okay? That sounds like I can't do assignment for them to creditors then, because assignment for creditors is generally, right? So I said, okay, can't do that. And so then we went back to the drawing board within 2 days after that meeting, and came up with an idea, brainstormed an idea to come up with a trust that where the beneficiaries would be only the exchanger plus the minor trade creditors and some, so there wasn't a conflict situation, which is only $4,400.
Right.
It's minimal. It's no big thing.
And let me just set up on Van den Bosch said all the general creditors, he didn't think that was a good idea.
Right.
But isn't it just that other 4,400? Is there other?
No, all your guarantor, you guarantee bank debt.
Okay.
And he was concerned that all of a sudden you'd have all this bank debt, it would be competing, and he wanted to ensure and at first David wasn't sure, but then David came around and said, yes, we've met, we've talked about it, that makes sense to us. Okay? So from that point, then we said, great, well, let's do this like quickly. Now that we've got a structure, this trust structure that works, and we've had a lot of people raise issues about, well, what about, I'm sorry.
Was this is the diagram that we saw?
Yes, probably
Okay,
was the diagram
okay.
you saw, yes. Yes, because that was, I sent the diagram to your attorneys. And so they said, there are issues about that. At the same time, Sussman had a different approach. Their approach was, can we do let's call it 105 injunction, in extraordinary powers of the bankruptcy court to basically take control and actually design an order that would take control. And so this is all going on simultaneously. Our concern and the creditor's concern on that was it's fine to have the 105 injunction, but that if you go to a title company, you can't say, I got a 105 injunction and it says I have control. It doesn't say that I can sign anything, it just says I have control. And our concern is that we never be able to actually, if we ever had to exercise authority, a blanket, you have control, is way different than you're in the chain. Does that make sense? And so we said, we really think the trust structure. So they came around, they said, yeah, okay, we get the trust structure. So then, again, now we're almost up to today, then we kept trying to work, and I kept on, specifically I called primarily David Quirk, and I said, David, we gotta get this, this is really important, we gotta move this forward quickly. And he said, well, I got some issues, and I said, okay, let's work through your issues really fast, but we've gotta get this done. And this really takes us up to the point of you guys had a meeting, and then Susan wrote an email, and then that caused the creditors to come unglued. And so that's kind of step by step how it got to the point where they said, creditors said, we want to have Obsidian in the CRO role, and then Stephanie heard this, and the judge came out with his own idea, which was we're going to have a Chapter 11 trustee, and then they went forward and appointed a Chapter 11 trustee, or authorized the appointment of a Chapter 11 trustee.
What was it about Susie's summary of that phone conference? Because she had a status conference with us and then sent out that email, which was in advance of basically the preliminary injunction that was supposed to be followed by what was going to be the 105 motion and injunction. What was it about that that set the creditors off? I guess I'm missing something in the reaction and communication link. I mean, what's the issue there?
Well, I think that there were a number of things, but I have to get the exact email out. Again,
I've read it. I mean, I know what was in it.
I understand, but I'm just telling you that caused them to be very concerned that things weren't moving in the right direction fast